Garrett Blevins here with pretty much almost a whole week in review. The grind is here and the volume work is around. My volume tolerance is increased, which I'm happy about, but it has led to a lot of back offsets. This day was one example of that. This was high bar, and I called it volume day. I'm not planning it as a volume day. In fact, the protocol was only to go up from my initial set 1 RPE. So I started with what should have probably been an RPE 7 or 8, but turned out to be a 6. However, this was kind of the weight that I decided to use for the day, and it took me 4 back offsets to increase the RPE, just 1 RPE from 6 to 7. And I speed this up here just because I'm not going to make you watch me do 4 back offsets. But you'll notice that the light changes, and that's kind of why I wanted to leave it in here. I had started filming with my camera exposure somewhat high, only because it's hard to see in the garage. But as the sun went down, I had to open up the camera more as the day went on, just because time was passing, and squatted from when it was light outside to when it was dark outside. But anyways, this was a really good day. I really felt like I hit my stride, and sometimes instead of pushing intensity, I'll push volume a little bit when I'm really feeling good. And on this day, I had some other stuff planned. In fact, I had conventional deadlifting planned as part of this day, and I moved it to the next day just because squatting was feeling so good. I decided I just wanted to ride out the volume and really hammer my quads since they've been a weak spot for me. And so finished up with a nice set where it was still smooth and just a lot of good volume work. Really just nice to have a good day every once in a while. I then moved on to close grip and worked up to 365 as my initial set. Came out to probably about 8.5 RPE. I would have preferred 8. And then I dropped the weight back down to 335 and repped that until I had the RP go up, what I would say about 2 from that first set of 335. So the first set of 335 was probably around a 6, and then I continued to do sets until it went up to about an 8. So 2 fatigue is what I would call that. And it felt pretty good on this day. It was a good amount of volume work. I can't remember exactly how many sets I did. I think I ended up doing 5 sets on bench. Or no, I think I did 6 total sets on bench, including the initial set. And then I did 4 sets, 5 with the initial set on squats. So this whole day, this whole workout, 9 working sets. But just some good quality work. Really enjoyed it. This was a tough day for me. I went in for sumo about 2 days after that last session. I didn't film the conventional session. 545 moved really well, and I moved up to 585, but I had my first thumb blowout on my right hand. I didn't get my ring finger on my thumbnail. It was just kind of on the fleshy part of the end of my thumb. And as I pulled the weight up, I detached my thumb underneath the nail from the nail. It moved fast as I looked back on the footage, but man, it really hurt and kind of was bleeding from under the nail. But I posted this on Instagram. I thought about my silver medal at Nationals last year and finished out the workout with straps because I was not going to not put in the work. And hook grip itself, that whole endeavor of learning that movement, is because I need to get my deadlift squared away. And one of the issues that I've been having is that my lats have gotten a little bit more developed, as well as my triceps. And as I've put on weight, I just can't get in a good position for sumo. So I ended up doing 2 sets of 5 as back off work with 545. And these really hammered my hamstrings a lot. I think probably my form was a little off. Maybe my grip was not as strong as I would have liked it because of the thumb pain. And that can really affect my speed. Doing some weird stuff, kind of like almost bending my elbows as I was holding the weight. It looks like I'm actually like partially rowing the weight off the floor. So I need to definitely keep my arms long. But I also need to work on keeping my torso tight and my bracing against my belt better because I need to get my deadlift squared away. I need to be at least pulling 700 easy and probably closer to 715 or 720 in competition. There's no reason I shouldn't do that if I'm squatting around 715 pounds. So anyways, finished up that day with some close grip. I think I actually, after the sumo deadlifting, I did this, but took a little bit of a break in between. That's one of the nice things about having a home gym. And ended up, I think, doing 8s and then did a 4% drop down to, I think, 300 pounds, and then just continued to rep out until I matched the RPE of the initial set with the back off work, which I think I put it at like an RPE 8 or something. So that was the day, just some good volume and working on a little bit of hypertrophy. Now, I want to continue on where I left off last video, which was talking about loving your neighbor as yourself. I am writing a term paper on this right now for an ethics class, and it's getting more and more involved as I'm looking at different sources, but one of the things that's been on my mind has been 1 John 4, and I'm going to read this real quick and then talk a little bit about it. John says, "There is no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear. For fear has to do with punishment, and whoever fears has not been perfected in love. We love because he first loved us. And the he that first loved us is God." That's the first thing to be said. But the second thing to be said about that is that God, as far as the Christians believe, takes the first step and loves and offers avenues of reconciliation and empowerment to enemies, to God's enemies, to those who are sinners, to those who are against God. God loves people who are not righteous. God loves sinners. This is because love is not something that is merited by our effort or our abilities. It's not something that is merited by what we have done. We're not earning our way into heaven. That's not what Christians ought to believe based out of the scriptures. Though historically both those of the Jewish faith and those of the Christian faith have struggled, at least at times, with what's called works righteousness, which is doing enough good works so that God will accept you. But what this verse is pointing out, well, let me say one other thing about works righteousness first. With works righteousness, if you do good works, then God will reward you with good things. Some people would say that he will reward you with heaven when you die. But the opposite is, if you do bad things, then eternal judgment and punishment awaits you. That's why John says here that fear has to do with punishment. But whoever fears has not been perfected in love. They've not been finished in love. That word perfected there, the telos, is the end of love. And what I think the end of God's love is for us, and what God loving sinners before they've done anything righteous is really about, is to show us that love is never about conditions. It's never about, if you do this for me, then I will love you. You know, if you put out, then I'll still be your boyfriend. If you do what I say, then I'll love you. If you go and work and bring home the money, then I will love you and support you. Whatever the thing is that people think, that's not what love is from the Christian perspective. Love is unconditional. Now, the Bible does speak about different loves. This is the love I'm talking about, that is to be the love for God and the love for neighbor as self. This love is an unconditional love. It doesn't love because of what it gets back. And it doesn't wait to love until the other does something good. This love comes before, and we love and even have the capacity for love because God first loved us before we did anything. And there is nothing to fear from God because God loves us even when we are God's enemies. This means we don't have to earn our way into God's love or into God's favor. Rather, it's something that's given unconditionally to us. The only thing that we have to do is decide, will we accept that love and be transformed by it, or will we reject that love and turn away from God and stay out of God's presence? These are the options given to us because God has loved us first. And it means that all of our love for our neighbor, for ourselves, and for God is to be unconditional love in just the same way that God's love is unconditional for us. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't have boundaries, or that we are just codependent and let people treat us like garbage, or that we can treat others like garbage and expect them to still be around us. But what it does mean is that we do not earn love, and we do not give love because it is earned by other people. And I'll be talking more about this as it goes on, but that's what I've been thinking about lately. I'd be interested in the perspectives of those who either agree or disagree with that view of love, and why. It might be helpful in how I articulate some of these thoughts later on in other videos. So, regardless, One of the core tenets, I believe, of the Bible and the Scriptures and of the Christian God is that it's a God that loves us unconditionally, not because of what we can do, what we will do, what we have done, but because it is, in fact, God's nature to love. And it is incumbent upon us to either accept or reject that offer, and to love God in the same way, or to reject God and not love God. In any case, I hope wherever you're at, you're doing well. Blessings.